So, we're heading to St. Petersburg, Florida today to look at a story about how a single word on a really simple sign is having this extraordinary impact. If you've ever felt lost or like you're just looking for a sign, literally, this is a story about finding a pretty unexpected bridge back to hope.
And it really all starts here, with this incredibly powerful story from a woman named Delaney McGinnis. She was at her absolute lowest point, driving toward the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, and she had no intention of coming back. And then she saw it, just a simple sign with one word on it. And that one word was enough to make her turn the car around and go home.
It's a huge question, right? But Delaney's story just forces you to ask it. And it turns out her experience wasn't a one-off thing. It's actually part of this mysterious, hopeful movement that's been quietly unfolding on the streets of St. Pete.
And that movement is called the happiness experiment. But as you're about to see, this isn't some big corporate ad campaign or anything like that. No, this whole thing was born from something way, way more personal.
Okay, so just picture this. You're driving around your city, just going about your day, and you start seeing these simple white signs with blue letters. They all say the exact same thing. Happiness. That's it. No company logo, no website, no phone number, just that one word popping up everywhere.
And I'm not talking about just a few signs here and there. We're talking about 567 of them, placed all across the city. Each one is just this quiet, constant reminder.
So naturally, people started wondering, who's putting these up and what's the point? Well, the story behind it all isn't about selling something. It's about healing from the kind of pain that most of us can't even imagine. And the answer to those questions, well, it lies with one man, the creator of the whole experiment, Gary King. And his story, it's one of incredible trauma. See, King wasn't just trying to spread some nice, feel-good message. He was on a desperate mission to heal himself. He'd been through a lifetime of trauma, and that included losing both his mother and his son. His friend, John Messmore, talks about this, saying he was there with Gary as he was trying to navigate complex PTSD. That's the kind of trauma that comes from really difficult, prolonged events, right after these two staggering losses. So you see, the signs, they weren't just for the city. They were a kind of therapy for himself. And honestly, that's what makes this whole project so unbelievably powerful. It came from a deep, personal need. King's theory was basically that if he surrounded himself with the physical word happiness, making the signs, touching them, seeing them everywhere he went, he could maybe, just maybe, start to rewire his own brain and find a way out of all that suffering. But how? How could something so simple really work? How can one word on a sign have a real therapeutic effect on someone's trauma, let alone inspire a whole community? Well, it turns out King's experiment wasn't just a random shot in the dark. It's actually grounded in some pretty well-known psychology. He was using a principle called autosuggestion. It's this idea that what we repeatedly see and tell ourselves can actually influence our subconscious mind. Think about it. If you constantly see a reminder of happiness, you start to prime your brain to look for it, slowly, almost without noticing, changing your mindset through sheer repetition. And his whole argument is that society, for the most part, teaches us to manage the effects of our pain. The anxiety, the sadness, the stress. But he believes the only way to truly heal is to go deeper and manage the original cause, the trauma that started all those feelings in the first place. And as Dr. Terry Collier puts it, King's work is like a spotlight on the why. Instead of just putting a bandage on the symptoms, the whole goal is to understand the root cause. The idea is that when you finally address that why, the what, all the unhappiness and the pain, it just naturally starts to get better on its own. So this entire philosophy, this idea of healing by getting to the root cause, led King to develop a really clear, actionable framework that he calls the happiness formula. Okay, I know this looks like some crazy, complex physics equation, but don't worry, there's not going to be a math quiz. It's really just his way of showing a framework that's built on 3 core, very understandable steps to finding real, genuine inner peace. And these are the 3 pillars. It all boils down to forgiveness, truth, and honesty, and self-worth. King's point is that you just can't build real, lasting happiness if you don't have a strong foundation in these 3 areas. They're the cause that, when you finally manage them, can heal all those painful effects.
And this isn't just some wacky idea. It's been recognized by experts like Dr. Frederick Luskin at Stanford. And he points out that the real power of this formula comes from where it was created, not in a lab or a textbook, but by a man who found this path through his own journey of devastating suffering. It's real because it was born from real resilience.
And in the end, that's how Gary King sees it.
He sees his own 78-year journey through pain not as a burden, but as the long, hard process of building a bridge for other people. A bridge for anyone like Delaney McGinnis who finds themselves lost and just looking for a way back home.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. If a single word on a sign can be a lifeline for someone in their darkest moment, it really makes you wonder, what's the one word you need to see more of in your world? What would you put on your sign?